We woke up in the dark and headed to Lake Natoro. A total of 10 people, including the bearded Mr. Inoue, boarded 2 fishing boats and headed to the opposite shore, where nets have been set up. This is the first day of casting nets at Lake Natoro. The morning at the port was still early. The fishing boat headed straight to the finish line at Hosper, which means running at full speed on the dimly lit sea, where are fixed nets placed on the sea surface without a target. While viewing the colorful GPS display installed in the cockpit, a system that synthesizes and displays map information and location information from satellites, similar to a car navigation system, the child of the ship is positioned directly above the target net. 2 fishing boats approached the fixed net and pulled the net from one side, sandwiching the net in the middle. Salmon and trout made huge jumps and fell onto the sea surface with a splashing sound. Although it is not obvious from the sea surface, this fixed net device takes advantage of fish habits to ensure that once a desired fish enters, there is no turning back. As the gap between the nets gradually narrowed and the salmon rose to the surface, water sprayed over my head as I sat on the motor on top of the boat and held the camera. It is expected that small fish will bounce, but when a salmon or trout weighing up to 4 to 5 kilograms bounces, it is not a snap. The calm sea turned into a chaotic mess. We pulled the boat as close as we could and scooped up about 20 salmon at a time using a giant tangled net. Tomonat looks heavy and difficult to hold, but it has ropes tied on 4 sides, using the power of the ship, rope winding device, to perform scooping and lifting movements. It cannot be achieved by human power. The salmon and trout, after being picked up, were put into a large barrel placed amidships, which quickly filled up. There's still a lot. Now I understand why Mr. Inoue told me to wear overalls and keep the camera and tripod in the wheelchair before going fishing. Salmon overflowed from the barrel and splashed on the deck. Salmon is placed on top of it. At first, I was able to walk past the salmon on the deck, but eventually there was nowhere to go and I had no choice but to step on the pile of salmon. If I had put a video camera on the deck, I would now be under a layer of salmon. When the boat began to sink under the weight of the salmon, another boat loaded the salmon in the same way. That ship was also full. On the boat heading towards the harbor, I found myself joining the salmon with my feet among them. As I passed by the jumping salmon, I saw slimy salmon all over my body. As soon as the salmon arrive at port, the sorting process begins. Sort the salmon into male, female and pink salmon and repackage them into containers. Pink salmon can be distinguished by the unique spots, but sexing is difficult. Not all salmon have the distinctive characteristic of having a protruding, curved nose. Some fish have a silver body color called silver feathers, while others have a marriage color called oak, making it difficult for amateurs to tell them apart. About an hour later, the graded salmon and trout were loaded onto dump trucks and transported. Who will eat this salmon? Unfortunately, when the catch is large, it cannot be processed promptly, so it is used more for livestock than for humans. The eggs of female salmon, salmon roe, are processed, but most male salmon and pink salmon are processed into fish meal, which is mainly used as livestock feed. As salmon and steelhead hatching begins, catches increase and supply stabilizes, prices will fall. When prices at the beach are low, a very large salmon can cost only a few hundred yen. Recently, it has also been exported. Take as many as you can. In response to the fisherman's generous words, I returned home with as many salmon and pink salmon as I could carry. All I could do was capture all 4 of them. That day we ate grilled salmon chanchan and miso salmon hot pot. The next day I went to Munyere. Freeze remaining fillets to make sashimi. Ikura is served with soy sauce. I was able to enjoy all the fresh flavors. Needless to say, that night there was a toast expressing gratitude for the blessings of the OK Photox. Our fixed net is located about 2 kilometers from the Hidaka coast. The Oka net, on the land side, is 30 meters long, 160 meters wide and 18 meters deep. In front of each net is a 700 meters long net called a hand net. Guide salmon into fixed nets. Shaped like stacked diamonds, the salmon are guided by a handheld net, swim towards the fixed net, enter the fixed net spread from one side to the other, then move deeper into the net. Mesh, called tamari. They cannot escape from the net, and unlike gill nets and drift nets, they swim alive in the tank. Fixed nets are called fixed nets because the net is set up to form a large bag-like bag. Then the salmon are guided into the bag and caught alive. Fixed netting requires careful maintenance even after it has been installed. We pay special attention to changes caused by tidal currents when installing them. Towing the net, silver salmon from the fixed net to your boat. Fishing takes place from May to July for netting in the spring, trout time, true salmon, and in the fall from September to November, silver salmon. To preserve the freshness of the fish when we catch a fish, we fill the chamber with ice and place it. Paddle. The boat arrived at Tamari after about 20 minutes and began casting nets. Even when casting nets, be careful not to fry too many salmon at once to avoid damaging the fish. In about 2 hours, the nets are removed from the shore and the live salmon are returned to the tank and returned to Yurikawa port for landing. Landing tilde ginki salmon from our vessel to our processing plant. Normally, the fish we catch is sent to the fisherman's cooperative market, but we have a sorting facility on the docks in front of the factory, where we separate the fish into silverfish and Buna salmon. Effectively, then transport the Buna salmon to the market. Selected silver salmon will be placed in tanks filled with ice, weighed and shipped straight to our factory right in front of us. Salmon can be prepared while still alive and fresh without touching the ground. August 26th every year is the opening day of net fishing. It is held until the end of November, but peaks for a month starting around September 20th. During this period, large quantities of salmon called silverfish are caught. Notsuke Peninsula is a fishing ground, a sea with extremely fast currents. Once a day, there is a period called Shio Darumi, when the current stops and we plan to depart at that time. At each of the 35 fixed nets, members of the management team form teams of 3 to 12 people to go fishing. The fixed net is a 3-tier net consisting of a hill net, a middle net and an offshore net, which takes 3 months from about June to prepare and install. The structure of the net was created to take advantage of the salmon's tendency to move downward and out to sea when they hit the wall. First, they are routed through a routing network called Michi-Ami to a trunk network, where they are played for a while. When it hits the wall again, it splits into left and right sides and enters the safe grid through an entrance called a funnel. Trout are very sensitive to the natural environment, especially water and wind. Trout will not enter the net unless the net is placed directly upstream. In June we predict the flow and set it and make adjustments as we start fishing. Salmon migrate in the morning or evening, depending on the phases of the moon. This is believed to be due to an increase in plankton, which is food for salmon. After releasing all the nets, we will return to the port. The reason why fishermen work so well is because they want to increase the number of fish caught so that as many people as possible can eat delicious salmon. I hope you all eat as much as possible. The fisherman's thoughts were very pure. The Utoro Salmon Yard was built when the port was renovated 3 years ago so the public could watch fishermen unload their cargo. Although it's called a rooftop terrace, it's not a cafe but an observation deck where you can look at the sorting table from the 2-story parking lot. It is rare to be able to see how salmon are caught, sorted and transported, and hopefully non-fishermen can get acquainted with this place and become the place that shines a light on Utero's salmon. It will become a new tourism base for Shari Town, which has the largest salmon catch in Japan. The fishing boats leave port at 5 a.m. and return to port around 7 a.m. after picking up salmon from each fishing ground. The boat docked looked heavy, with many salmon newly pulled from the net into the tank on the bottom of the boat. At the port, as soon as the salmon are unloaded, there will be a sorting table to classify them according to size and quality. The salmon is ready and waiting for you to return to the port at any time so the salmon can be transported immediately. I.e., when the fishermen return from the sea, they use a crane to place the salmon on the sorting table and quickly sort it into 6 types of boxes. Shari Deich Fisheries Cooperative located at Utoro Port has 3 sorting decks. The sorting table during unloading is very busy. A 1-ton container containing salmon is being moved one by forklift. It's so fast it's like watching a mini race. Meanwhile, there was a scene at Utoro Port that I couldn't see in other ports. While inspecting the unloaded and sorted salmon, the middleman is holding a modern tablet that you won't see in other ports. All bidding at Utoro Port is digital. Using tablets, brokers can now bid from anywhere without having to travel from the sorting desk at the big gate to the auction room. Bidding is done for each vessel unloading, so previously there was no other option but to wait for the tender and wait for the next vessel to unload. But now with this tablet bidding the time has been reduced significantly. Additionally, by creating line groups among fishermen and sharing information in real time, they can now work more efficiently. You could say this is a revolution in the way the ocean works. The same thing happened with Notsuke. Fall is the season, but the name changes depending on the time of year it's caught. From spring to summer, it's Tokasaki, and in fall, it's Akasake or Akimi. And it's a rare type of salmon that's often roasted returned after 4 years, but just happened to leave early. Undercooked salmon has good fat called salmon roe. As salmon approach their home river, they change color from seawater to freshwater. This is preparation for reproduction. This is a phenomenon where the fat in the egg is removed and the egg becomes white. Has low calories and high nutritional value despite the lean meat. What creates this pink color is astaxanthin, which has recently become a hot topic. Due to its antioxidant properties, it has recently attracted attention not only for its nutritional value, but also for its anti-aging effects and other beauty.